I say inside zone's like a nice Porsche, right? It's a luxury car. Whereas Duo's a Mack truck. We're coming downhill. Yeah, let's go.
Coaches, what's going on? It's Coach Ian Tatum here, back with the Coaches Clinic Series video. I am joined with a special guest, Coach Romeo Torres from California.
Hey.
Coach, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Coach. How about you?
Man, I'm great. I'm blessed. Coach is going to talk a little bit of cover three match with us today. Coach, I've got your presentation up.
right.
Anytime if you want to do a short intro and then get into cover three match, we're good for you to do that. And then
For sure.
I'm gonna back myself out. Anytime you want to have dialogue or go back and forth, just let me know and I can come back in. But you got it.
All right. My name is Coach Romeo Torres. I'm a third-year defensive backs coach at Coronado High School in San Diego, California. To give a little bit of background about myself, personally, my greatest achievement playing football was being a junior on JV, getting 2 assisted tackles. So I'm coaching a position that I've never played in, but just through the availability of information and kind of coming to coaching from the lens and standpoint of, okay, well, like, how can I coach not only like starters, but people that were just like me? Because I relate to the guys that never played. I like to think myself as someone who's very good at finding information and being very intentional. Getting started here with the presentation, cover 3 zone match. Okay. At the end of the day, it's basically cover 3 rip Liz from Nick Saban. There's a lot of like words for it, a lot of semantics. My intention when bringing this to our team was to just make this as simple as possible as a defensive backs coach. So overview what we're going to go over today. Okay, we're going to go over the intention of playing the coverages, the weaknesses of the coverages. I'm not a snake oil salesman. Okay, I'm going to sit here and tell you that, yes, there is no God coverage. Yes, in cover 3 match, there is issues and there are ways to exploit it, just like every coverage. Alignments and responsibilities, individual coverage rules, film, and then my contact information at the very end. I want to make this as quick, as concise as possible. Okay, so the intention, to keep it as short as possible, is we want to have as heavy as a box as possible while playing sound pass defense in a middle of the field close structure. Middle of the field close just means one safety up top while denying seam throws, okay? So the reason why you'd play this as opposed to just playing normal country cover 3 is everyone knows, right, in country cover 3, the offense has access to the seams, okay, or flood concepts. This coverage is to just take away those seam throws. Going next, talk about our intention. Let me fix my Epic pen here. Okay, weaknesses. This is not for obvious passing situations, okay? Like 3rd and long, 2-minute drill, or if you're up by 30 points and your opponent's trying to come back in the game. This is a coverage you want to call when you're intentional about trying to stop the run, okay, and having as many guys in the box as possible. But this, as a pass coverage, is not the same. It's not as good as other coverages you can run, like cover 6, quarter, half, or quarters, or just cover 2 zone. 4 eligibles to one side. Okay, I'll get into that. And then there's ways you can break the rules of the defense, right? So if you get a vertical clear out by 1 and 2, and I'll explain what 1 and 2 are, with a deep outbreaker by the number 3 receiver, okay, you exploit the rules of the coverage. Classic cover 3 beaters like slant flat, also known as dragon in West Coast terms, or the dagger concept, which I'll show, or a wide split, a super wide split 3-man bunch. Okay, thinking in terms of the high school game, like your 3-man bunch is at the numbers, as in a wide split. Those are weaknesses. Going into it here, okay, just think of these things in halves, okay? And defensively, when we count receivers, it's just outside in. So the closest number 1 receiver to the outside's 1. Next guy who's a slot's 2. We don't really care whether it's a wide receiver, tight end, an offensive lineman wearing an eligible number. We just count them if they line them up as eligible, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so starting with the dig, because the corner is playing outside leverage. Okay, if you have the middle number 2 crossing face of the safety, there's just window right here. Same thing for a slant flat. Okay, as the corner passes this slant off in between the outside linebacker who goes to take the flat and the inside linebacker, there's a window right here. Our next weakness is because corners play with outside leverage in this coverage, okay, if we get a number 1 who runs a return route, comes back inside, Okay. By leverage, he'll be beat if your number one could break outside and break back in with any sort of agility. And also what I'm talking about. So long story short, in the defense, if number 1 and 2 run a vertical route, the nickel outside linebacker type will always be with number 2. Okay. Whatever you want to call it in your defensive structure, that's perfectly fine. And the corner will always have to carry number 1 vertical. So if the number 3 receiver runs a deep outbreaking route, that's a lot to ask on a hook curl player, which is typically an inside linebacker. So that's an exploit right there. Or also if you get a 4th eligible, which you see these concepts in the NFL, whether it's like the NFL teams running some sort of swing screen or just really just having a 4th eligible to one side, because then that would just be asking the outside linebacker type to the opposite side to trail over and carry this guy, which is a very hard ask. Okay. So those are the weaknesses. Now going over the zone responsibilities. So deep third, really simple for corners and just DBs, right? So there'll be a cornerback playing the outside third and a safety type. All you really need to know for your deep third, which is the easiest when you teach your guys, is, hey, you have in the high school game, right? It's split in thirds. So the thirds part's really easy. You have the hash to the sideline. Nothing gets behind you. Okay. Now for the seam flat, think of these as your outside linebacker, star, or your nickel types. Okay. Again, whatever you call them in your defense, it really doesn't matter. Like, it's all semantics at the end of the day. Okay. Think of their seam flat, if they drop into a zone, as in between the hash and the numbers all the way to the sideline. And you want your guys to drop at a depth of 10 to 12 yards. We're going to get into the tape here soon, but these things really aren't suggestions at all when you're showing it to your kids. These are more so of like, hey, like, this is non-negotiable for the depth of their drops. And for the hook curl, it's really just the same, right? It's in between the hash and the numbers to the middle of the field. And the hook curls are usually played by your inside linebackers. Okay. Going next to our defensive alignment. So in this defensive alignment, to keep it as simple as possible, just picture we have a 4-down structure. Really, like, you could do this out of a 3 stack, right? Like, let's say you have a 4th inside linebacker and you're going to send one of them on a pressure. That's perfectly fine. Okay. For the purposes of today's clinic, just picture that you're having 7 in coverage. Okay. So you want your corners always outside leverage of the number 1 receiver. We're going to get into rules in a second that dictate when they move inside. And same thing for your nickel or outside linebacker types. So for the nickel to the trip side, okay, outside shoulder. Now this outside linebacker here, his number 2 is a running back. So he would just be on his outside shoulder and basically be an extra man in the box. So against any compressed formation, like let's just say you're playing against some sort of wing team that occasionally passes, okay, this nickel would just end up traveling over, and this inside linebacker would just be tighter in the box. So that's the benefit of the counting system 1, 2, 3. And it's really easy, right? Like, as a coach, especially at the high school level or above, your kids need to be able to count to 3 to just make it out of kindergarten. So that's why it's not hard to just really ask the kids, hey, count 1, 2, 3. Okay, so divider rules. So there's a lot of people classify dividers differently, and there's a lot of semantics around it. Just to keep it as concise as possible, all we consider a divider is an imaginary line on your opponent relative to where the ball is placed. Okay. And all that does is dictate inside or outside leverage based on those divider rules. So going into the rules for the inside linebackers. Okay. So this is where we talk about the issue of the wide bunch. If this number 3 were to line up all the way here, his rule is he goes no wider than 5 yards from the offensive tackle. Reason being is because an inside linebacker needs to play the run first. Okay. So that is a weakness. That leaves you weak to bubble screens. So that's his divider. The inside linebacker goes no further than 5 yards from the offensive tackle for the number 3 guy. And so for the number 2, if the number 2 receiver lines up outside the hash mark, if the ball is on the far hash, then the nickel would just be inside leverage. And then for the corner, if the number 1 receiver here were to line up anywhere beyond the top of the numbers, then the corner would just now play with inside leverage. Okay. And the reason why is because at the high school level, Okay. You want to ask this kid to make a crazy throw to the far side of the field. If he can complete that while we're playing inside leverage, okay, like we have bigger issues. So that's it for the divider rules. Try to keep it short, sweet, simple. Okay, now time for the specific player rules, starting with the corner rules. So the corner has number man coverage on all of the number one receiver except short, and we define that as 5 yards. I know other coaches try to tell their players to count steps. It's either way, it's really hard whether you count yards or steps. I've always felt like it was easier to ask the kids to count yards. I mean, even in practice, there's an intentionality with, hey, in Indy, put a cone that sets 5 yards when you drill these things. And if number one goes short, which is 5 yards or less in any direction, you yell the word under, and the corner just falls off into his deep third. Okay. Now, all the under call is it lets this outside linebacker or nickel know that I'm no longer guarding number two and I'm going straight to my seam flat, which we already talked about. Okay, now it's time for the seam flat. Again, all semantics aside, seam flats are usually played by your outside linebacker types, nickel, star, mac, money, whatever you want to call those guys. He has man on number two, vertical and outside. Okay, and that ceiling is set at 10 yards. So any route that this cat runs, outside, corner route, seam route, this defender has outside leverage and he's in perfect leverage to play all those routes and he's locked in man. Unless his ears hear the word under, then he falls off looking for number one. Okay. Now, if the number two receiver under the deck of 10 yards runs any in-breaking route, okay, we want to yell the word in to our inside linebackers and bail to our seam flat zone. So this is the most rules assigned to one coverage player in the defense. Besides that, it's very simple. Okay, hook curl rules. So again, the hook curl is usually played by your inside linebackers. So simplest rules for obvious reasons that you want these guys to be your bulky run stoppers. So let's not overload them from a coverage standpoint. So all they do is drop to their 10 to 12 yard hook curl. And if there's a number three receiver to the flat, whether it's a running back in like 23 personnel or whatever heavy personnel, a tight end that comes across the formation, that becomes a number three. Okay, we treat them all the same. Then the closest play side linebacker to the third receiver side goes and takes him. And the weak side inside linebacker goes to the middle of the field and just plays a center hook zone. Same drop, 10-12. That's it. But if it's doubles 2x2 or there's no number three to the flat, you're just playing your hook curl. That's it. So this is what it looks like if we were to get a push call, okay, which is, again, if we get a number three to the flat. Both of these cats, we want them to yell push. Okay, he would just go over, cut off the number three in the flat, and he just replaces center. Okay, and then before we go to my contact information, we're going to go to the film and give you some examples. So let me share my huddle tab. Okay, so here this is a 7-on-7 against another school in our area. We're on defense right now. So before we start, I'm going to just let this highlight show the route distribution, okay? And I'm going to start with the bad plays first. There's 3 of them, I believe, to kind of emphasize the importance of communication and why it matters so much, okay? So here, the number one, he's going to run a curl at about 6 to 7 yards. Number 2 is going to run a slot fade. Okay, this guy's in motion just to run an in-breaking route, and this guy runs an angle route. So he would be number 2, and this would be number 1 running a vertical clear out, okay? So what we get here, what I want us to pay attention to is a miscommunication that happens with these guys that springs a slot fade wide open, okay? And that's why when you practice it, like, this isn't something you can just see and just be like, oh, it's cute, let's install it. Like, it takes constant repetition and constant practice because of the match rules, because everyone needs to be in sync. Okay, so right here we have the we have the outside linebacker who, and again, this could be messed up 2 ways, right? Either this guy yells under the corner and doesn't get depth in his third, or the outside linebacker just forgets he's matching and drives on the guy who's in the seam when he's supposed to match because number 2 is up in vertical, and we have a wide open touchdown. Okay, so that clips to emphasize the communication and that these things aren't all perfect. And like I said, okay, even if you play the coverage perfectly, there's weaknesses, and that's with the understanding that your whole defense is on the same page. Okay, you got to be really intentional here with getting everyone on the same page. So this next school we're playing against, okay, they're probably going to be a wing team in the offseason. That really doesn't matter. Okay, so again, let's just count it. The closest receiver to the sideline. 1, 2. This guy would be 3 because he's in a pistol alignment technically. 2, 1. Okay. Now, if we just look at the way they disperse, okay, we're going to have a quick out. So the corner is going to have to lock on that, on this quick out. Okay. We're going to have a second guy in the flat. So that'll be the nickel's job, or outside linebacker here. Okay. This guy's crossing over. So he'll go in between the hook curls. The outside linebacker here is going to need to take him. And then the corner is just locked on number 1 because he runs a vertical route above 5 yards. So he's locked on an outside leverage. So let's see what unfolds here. Okay. So we get a guy in the flat running wide open because our outside linebacker squeezes inside and isn't looking to the flat. So that's the big thing too. So far, since we've installed this in spring, we've noticed, especially with our outside linebacker types, is they'll have a tendency to sometimes carry number 2 inside. It's just being really intentional in your practice periods of, hey, you don't carry that cat inside if his route's under 10 yards. Okay. So what you love to see here too. These guys are having fun playing football. Okay. Doing air basketball. So what we got here as I forward it to this point. Okay. So just what I talked about for the weaknesses, we have slant and wheel. Basically same thing as slant flat. But as this corner, okay, passes off this receiver and this guy bails to take him, there's going to be a window in between this linebacker and this seam flat. So if this quarterback knows what he's doing, okay, he can rope that in there. That is a weakness in the defense. Like I said, I'm showing all the negatives first. Okay. So boom, as we play it, boom, he fits it right in there. And that's an easy 15 yards. Now, going back to the drop of this inside linebacker, what he could do better here is his drop is really vertical. That's not what we're looking for. Okay. We want more of a diagonal drop. And that would kind of help alleviate that issue of this ball getting threaded right into the slant window. Okay. Now, again, weaknesses, all the bad clips aside, here's some clips of it actually working. Okay. So as we go into the concept here, we're going to get a speed out by the motion man. Okay. So at this point, when the ball snapped, he's 2, he's 1, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So that matters for all your coverage players. Okay. So we don't dictate, hey, tallest guy is this, or does his hand in the dirt. Everything is 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. And we're very intentional, at least in practice. So let me wind it back. Okay. Of putting this guy in motion on purpose to stress your communication. So when you practice this, like, there's intentionality with this. Okay. You want your practices to be very intentional with forcing communication. So as I go back, as we see this route concept develop, okay, let's just talk about it. So number 1 is under 5 yards. Okay. He should bail into his deep third. Number 2 is going to go in. He should squeeze number 2 into the hook and bail out to the flat. Okay. This outside linebacker type should take this guy because he's number 2. And this corner is locked on and man to this guy. So let's see how it plays out here. Boom. And our inside linebacker gets a swat. Okay. So I really want to talk about this kid here. So this kid gets to about 12 yards. And mind you, people ask, can this be done? Okay. It seems like a lot. I'm very transparent in that, okay? This isn't a walk in the park, but then again, I always believe like great things in life, whether you want to play really good defense, whether you want to be successful in life, like those things don't happen by accident, they're intentional. So this kid has never played a game snap at linebacker, okay? Positional change this spring. He played D-line last season as a freshman and did not get playing time in the regular season. So he's able, after 3 weeks of spring ball, to play his hook curl perfectly and jump and swat the ball on an in cut. Okay. That's this working. And I bring that up to where if you can get kids executing this coverage who have not gotten in-game playing time, who did not play in the season prior, and they're 15 years old, you sure as hell can ask your 16 and 17 and 18-year-olds to do the same thing, if not better. So next example after our swat. Okay, got a motion man here. It's just a flood concept. Okay, 10-yard in, number 3 to the flat. So this inside linebacker's got to take him. Okay, number 2 is going to run an out route. Outside linebacker is going to carry him. And then we have a deep post. It's not a 5-6 yard post. Just for the sake of the camera angle, I had to draw it. He cuts at about 8 yards. So he'll be carried by the corner. So let's play it through, see how it plays out. And then here, so it happens off screen, but we get an interception, okay? Because our free safety is squeezing down as our corner is collapsing it from outside leverage, okay? And this is what you want is, yes, by aligning your corners outside leverage, you invite the quarterback to try and fit the post in a tight window. But if he's getting squeezed by the free safety, right, it's a very small window. And at this point, you're really just asking the quarterback to be almost perfect, which at the high school level, it's difficult. And this is without a pass rush. Okay, about 2 more clips here. So same concept, except now we're going to get an interception by this guy. Now, the only thing he does wrong here is he gives up outside leverage, but he undercuts it. And then again, the reason why we're so specific on leverages, on, hey, you have outside, inside leverage, all that stuff, is because it lets you know where your help is, where your help isn't, and how aggressive you could play. So just really watch this cat as we play through. He's going to undercut the out route and end up picking it. So boom. And then in a game, that's a pick 6, unless the opposing offensive line's super fast. And kind of going back to the backside dig. Okay, so as we get this inside linebacker who's pushing to the number 3, he moves center. And then again, like this doesn't matter, you're not spot dropping, right? This outside linebacker sees he doesn't have a clear number 2. He just doesn't exist. So he's going to work back here and help squeeze anything to the middle hook to help out his corner, okay? So, yep, he's helping him, squeezes it, and we get that throw. And nothing's open. And, like, this is 7-on-7 without a pass rush, okay? What we've seen compared to years past, just even in spring, whether we're scrimmaging our own guys or other opponents, is we're noticing the quarterback's tending to go through his progressions more often than in years past, which without a pass rush is a good sign. Okay, we got our last clip here. Let me see what the route distribution is. Okay, so number 1 runs a route under 5 yards. The cornerback's going to bail. Okay, number 2 runs an out route. So this outside linebacker carries him. Okay. Vertical by number 1. Deep and breaking route by number 2 under 10 yards. So the outside linebacker doesn't follow. So let's see what happens. Okay, so we get a pass off and then boom. So quarterback has to fit it in a tight window. And again, once this corner realizes that, hey, I'm passing this guy off and this guy's running an outbreaker, but he's covered by number 2, he really has the freedom to use his vision and to just really squeeze on the hash. Okay. And this is something that we tell the corners too. Like, this isn't like a day off for the DBs. If you get quick game or all underneath concept, is it's, hey, squeeze that space and make it as difficult as humanly possible. So I'm going to play it in slow-mo. Boom, the quarterback, you can see he's going through the progression, finds his guy late over the middle. He's getting squeezed by the free safety in the corner. And who knows what happens in a game. So this is just with 3 weeks. Okay. Like, that's just with 3 weeks of practice. Going back to my presentation, please feel free to contact me. My email is romeotorres@gmail.com. And on Twitter/X, my Twitter handle is @RomeoTFBall. That's all I got, Coach Tatum. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, man. You can hit stop sharing and to bring it back.
Yep.
There we go. Man, love it. One thing I'm always studying is coverages, right?
Right.
As an offensive line coach, or just being offensive coordinator, offensive coach in general, trying to get better at coverages and everywhere I've ever been, I've always been like a team that majors in cover 3, right? And we do a lot of more match stuff here at Walkertown as well. So loved it. I think it's going to do really well because a lot of people love doing match stuff. It's kind of
Yeah.
hot. So I appreciate you doing that for me, man. A lot. I really do.
Thank you for having me on. I had a blast, man.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you. Well, guys, like he said, his Twitter's right there under his name. Make sure you hit up Coach, follow him. He'll definitely talk to you about anything you need. He's a good one for sure. But I appreciate you, Coach.
All right. Appreciate you.